Black people slept when Bob McCullough was running for re-election in Ferguson, and the Democratic elites in New York showed their own allegiance to white supremacy when they elevated Dan Donovan from Staten Island DA to Congress. For many, it seemed the rallies and protesting by Black Lives Matters was a paper tiger. Until now. There have been 3 successive DA's races in the last couple of months, 2 in the last 24 hours alone, in which police brutality against black people has knocked the white racist DAs out of power. The first came in Louisiana, when the racist DA there, who had made national headlines for how he selectively sentenced more black men to death row per capita than any other place in the country, was first exposed as a white supremacist and then his office taken by the parish's first black DA, James Stewart. The white media, including your precious white liberal friends, pretty much ignored this one. White liberals only like black people when we're powerless. As soon as we get a little bit of power, they stop being so sympathetic towards us. But now it's happened again. Tim McGinty, the racist DA who refused to prosecute Tamir Rice's murderers and who then led the smear campaign against a dead child, has now been unceremoniously kicked out of office. I watched the news feeds on this one as it unfolded, and although it was pretty clear McGinty was on his way to a total defeat, Fox News tried to make it seem like this one would come down to the wire, when in truth, it wasn't even close. Well, I guess Fox News figured that calling the election for the loser worked for W back in 2000. It was at least worth a try. Idiots. Although Cleveland's new DA isn't black, the undeniable fact is that everyone recognized this was a referendum on white police violence against black citizens. The racists have been frothing at the mouth over this one all day. But the hurting wasn't over yet, at least not as far as the visuals went. Anita Alvarez, the most corrupt prosecutor in America, who allowed the Chicago PD to carry out a localized genocide against black citizens, got her racist ass roundly kicked last night. She lost by a landslide, and there was no getting around the fact that this was all about white police violence against black citizens. Somewhere Rahm Emanuel is sweating right now, but not because of Kim Foxx. I saw the state prosecutor-elect Kim Foxx's victory speech, and I'll tell you right now, this has all the makings of a disaster. I'll be the very first one to say it. This woman is a pitiful disgrace, and I wouldn't recommend expecting very much good from her. I'll never forget how Barack Obama at the 2004 Democratic Convention gave his insanely moronic speech about how there was no black America or white America. Black politicians are the only ones who you ever see talking like that, because they have to disavow and distance themselves from black people's situation. And you need to realize that when they do this, it's because they're auditioning for white support at the expense of black people's well-being. Rather than make it clear there was a new sheriff in town, Kim Foxx's speech came off more like an apology to the white citizens. She even thanked the police and, unbelievably, congratulated them for putting their lives on the line. I think we already disproved that one, didn't we? She then went on to talk about how, on her watch, no more children will have to take cover in bathtubs to escape gunfire. Her sorry speech sounded like it was written by Pat Lynch, or better yet, by the Chicago PD. But it damn sure didn't sound like it was written by someone who gave a rip about stopping police violence. Keep in mind, this heifer is doing all this before she's even gotten into office. The polls had barely closed, and she was already trying to ingratiate herself with the very racist forces that her supporters elected her to fight. I've told you a million times, when you see a black politician or public figure criticizing the black community in public, that is an opportunist looking for a white audience, and this political whore was campaigning hard for those white campaign dollars. Kim Foxx already is laying what she hopes will be the foundation for her future campaigns for a higher office. For those of you hoping that she'll be a new beginning, I hope she doesn't trample you on her way out the door to her Senate campaign or governor's campaign. She's nowhere near as intelligent or savvy as Barack Obama, but this incompetent little lawyer is hoping that she'll be senator one day too, and she's not about to let safeguarding black lives from the police get in the way of her imaginary career path. So as I said, don't expect very much from Kim Foxx. Remember, the very first time that you ever heard that was here. Also, at the risk of coming off like one of the MRAs, did anyone else notice that Kim Foxx didn't once thank or congratulate her husband in all of this? One of the few black women lucky enough that someone would actually marry them, and you would think at the very least she'd make it known that he was her foundation, her rock, her support, her everything. Instead, she made a corny, snide remark, a pathetic attempt at what for her passed for humor, and that was about it. That is ungracious and ungrateful. No society can rise higher than its men, because it's the men upon whose shoulders the society is carried. Even if she wasn't revealing herself to be a sniveling tool in waiting, there is never an excuse for any black woman, no matter how high she thinks she's climbed, to not acknowledge and give respect to her husband. Now compare the scratching and shuffling of the tool Fox with Dorothy Brown, who easily won the Cook County Clerk of Court seat, despite the Democratic racist machine trying to indict her on trumped-up charges, throwing millions into the campaign of her opponent, and conveniently deciding to time their charging and prosecution of her so as to be a cloud over her campaign. But it failed. Dorothy Brown won and was very careful to thank her husband. This is not to say that her paying respect to her husband means that she's a bona fide saint or anything, but any black woman too arrogant to respect her husband is definitely too self-centered to respect her people and cannot possibly be expected to stand for us. Yes, the visuals of 3 DA's offices being won by the national protest against white police violence is good to see, but we don't need images. What we need is substance. Yes, Anita Alvarez is out, but unless the disproportionate prosecutions of black men in the city stops, unless the police are prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law every time that they harm a citizen, then nothing has changed. Kim Foxx has already made it known that she's from the same camp as Jesse Jackson and Barack Obama and every other self-serving, self-interested token Negro who got a pat on the head from the powers that be. Yes, black Chicagoans, your vote was disciplined this time, but the problem is that you didn't choose Kim Foxx to be your candidate. She was chosen for you, which means you didn't have a choice at all. This is the next hurdle that you're going to have to overcome, to choose your own leaders from among your own ranks and stop making selections from the same handful of cherry-picked tools that the Democrats present you with. Also, you require enough money and influence that you can kill an ambitious political prostitute's career dead if they refuse to obey you. Compared to that, ousting Anita Alvarez is a cakewalk.